So at the time of recording this video, not all the cards have been revealed for the Murders at Karlov Manor set, but in my opinion, I can already say that this is definitely one of the best sets of all time when it comes to set design, and in this video, I'm going to be breaking that down. I really wanted to celebrate the fact that, this is the first set that I actually got excited for. Usually, I don't really care about upcoming sets, I just play the cards when they come out, and that's about it. But when I was looking through the cards for the set, I was really blown away by the amount of theming and the overall flavor of the cards and the way the gameplay mechanics kind of interweave themselves into the set as a whole. And it also got me interested in some of the MTG lore as well. So before we get into some specific examples of cards, let's start breaking down why I think this set is truly incredible. So when it comes to set design, I think the number one step is to be able to tie your lore from the game to a more general setting or a general theme that can apply to more players, especially those who are not interested in your game's lore, to get them more invested in the set as a whole. And here we have a really strong contender with the murder mystery, which I think really maps on well to card games and strategy games in general because of the whole theme in general of a detective looking for the truth. There's like mysteries, there's weapons, there's really a lot of things that tie into a card game really well, in my opinion, here. And that ties into the second step in building a really solid set that is going to be tying the gameplay mechanics to the theme of the set itself. And there are so many cards that can illustrate this. I'm not going to be breaking down cards in depth yet, but I'm going to be showcasing a few cards that have those gameplay mechanics just to illustrate my point. We have the detective subtype, we have investigate as a mechanic that creates clue tokens, we have general clues in weapons that are equipment. That's really interesting. We have gathering evidence, which allows a spell to potentially level up or have an additional effect if you fulfill the gathering of evidence. We have the cases, and we have disguise as a mechanic. And a few of these mechanics already existed in the game prior to the set coming out. In fact, I think most of them already existed, but the fact that they can integrate themselves into this set so perfectly, I think is really impressive and really smart overall. And last but not least, as the final most important thing I think for set design is going to be the flavor for the cards and like the flavor text and the overall artwork, the naming, all of the things that really create the world within the set, that really expand on the characters and what they're doing and everything around that. So I think now is a great time to delve into specific cards and break down all of the things that I mentioned prior within specific examples. All right, so let's start things off with one of my favorite cards in the set when it comes to its design. And you'll probably see why in a second here, or you can already see why potentially, but we have the Jaded Analyst, a 2-mana 3/2 human detective with Defender. And I think the artwork really sells this card. It's absolutely incredible. It really tells you a lot about the base state of the card, as we'll see here, like the Defender. I feel like the Defender is incredibly well represented in this card, and that's what really brings it to life, in my opinion. We also have the flavor text. Oh, good, another case with too many victims and not enough clues. So, really, a jaded analyst, tired at the desk, looking at cases. But the effects that we have, the static effect, whenever you draw your second card each turn, so whenever you draw 2 cards in a turn, the Jaded Analyst loses Defender and gains Vigilance. And I really find that Vigilance is a keyword that's really well utilized in this set when it comes to flavor, because it's perfectly tied to like detectives, right? Becoming vigilant, ready to like do detective work. And the Jaded Analyst, when you gather enough information by drawing 2 cards a turn, he becomes vigilant. He's ready to finally work and do his job. He can finally attack, do his detective work and, go in. The vigilance, the flavor text, everything about it is so on point. It's truly incredible. And this set has a ton of cards like this. And I'm obviously not going to be able to break down all of them. So I will be breaking down a bulk of those cards in a different video. This is just to illustrate my points in this current video. And next up, we absolutely have another card that is one of my favorites in the set. Absolutely incredible. The Burden of Proof, a 2-mana enchantment aura with flash. So you can, that's, it makes all the flash instant speed stuff is truly incredible in this set with the suspect. And you'll see in a second. But enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 as long as it's a detective you control. Otherwise, it has base power and toughness 1/1 and can't block detectives. And the flavor text here to illustrate, plus the art. I mean, the art is already really, really good at conveying what this card does, in my opinion. But with the flavor text, you must have known all those lies would catch up to you eventually. So to break down the card's effect, let's just dive into it. We have the artwork really conveys, I think, pretty well what this card does. If you control a detective, that detective gets more powerful as they obtain the truth. So if they have the truth, they get more powerful because they can handle it. They're detectives, that's their job. And otherwise, if it's a creature that can't handle the truth, they become a 1/1, they shrivel up. It's like too heavy of a burden, literally. I mean, that's in the name, right? And they can't block detectives because they're going to be afraid of detectives because they have the truth that they might not want to share with the detective. So really, really incredible flavor, theming, absolutely on point. Flavor, text, art, like everything is nailed. And I really love these cards, honestly. I can't stop gushing about them. Like this is truly what got me excited about the set as a whole. I've never seen design to this level that is just so compelling. It's really an achievement, truly incredible. Next up, we have something that's going to highlight the disguise mechanic, and I think this card does it incredibly well. So we have Museum Nightwatch, a 4-mana 3/2 creature soldier, and when Museum Nightwatch dies, you create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token, and it has Disguise for 2 for 1 and a white. So Disguise as a mechanic is this card can be cast face down as a 2/2 creature with ward 2, and you can turn it face up for the disguise cost here. That's going to be 2 mana. So 3 colorless, cast it face down. It's a 2/2 with a ward 2, and you can flip it at any time for 2 mana, and then it becomes the actual creature, the 3/2 Nightwatch. So starting from the disguise mechanic, we have this creature that's the Museum Nightwatch, right? Can disguise itself as a 2/2 with ward 2 to not reveal that it's a Museum Nightwatch to, better catch the criminals, and then it can reveal its disguise and, come down as the actual creature itself. And when it dies, a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token is made, essentially signifying that a detective is going to come in to investigate the murder of the Museum Nightwatch. The flavor text for this card is also incredible. It showcases the moments that the Museum Nightwatch gets killed, and I find that to be a really cool addition to the card as a whole. Really, really incredible flavor and design for this card, and I absolutely love that. And next up, we have the perfect example of a card that actually got me more interested in the lore for Magic the Gathering. I still don't exactly know what's going on in this card when it comes to its lore, but let's break down the surface level, explanation, because this is truly an example of how you can have deeper lore tied to a card, but also have it be understandable on a surface level. And I think that's really important for most people who are not interested in the lore who don't know the lore. So you have It Doesn't Add Up, a 5-mana instant speed card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Suspect it. And Suspect is a mechanic where that creature will have menace and can't block, and then additional effects can apply to it on other cards depending on what card that is. So on a surface level, this card is, a creature comes back from the dead, and obviously that is very suspicious, right? And I find that to be really cool. The artwork is absolutely stunning. Like truly, truly, truly incredible artwork. This is like I was looking at this art, I was like, geez, this is so awesome. The colors, the purple, incredible. Like the phasing in of different, pieces of art inside it. It's so good. It's absolutely incredible. And then just the surface level, baseline explanation for creature comes back from the dead. That's suspicious. But apparently that is not exactly what's going on here when it comes to lore. I don't really know exactly what's going on, but apparently it's like Itrata, who is a character, being suspicious of Zagana, the character that was killed here, and that suspicion makes her want to reanimate Zagana to get answers. Now I'm not exactly sure if that's actually what's going on, because that's an explanation I got from chat, but also really cool if that is the case, or whatever it is. Really interesting lore. I wanted to dig deeper, and I did have a long discussion with my chat about what exactly was going on here, and we reached that conclusion. Then we have a perfect example of the murder weapons being used as equipments, and this is absolutely incredible. Like, it's such it makes sense, right? It's such a straightforward idea, but it being implemented is so fun and like interesting. I don't know why I'm so like stun locked by these designs, even though it feels like it's a natural thing. It feels like it's a normal, logical thing to integrate, right? But it's so cool to see it in action. So lead pipe is a one black artifact clue equipment. I love that they're clues as well. That's like it's so awesome. Like everything's so cool about the set. So it's a clue and equipment. And equipped creature gets +2/+0 because they have murder weapon, right? So they get stronger. And whenever an equipped creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life. And then we have 2 mana, sacrifice lead pipe, draw a card. So it's a clue. It works within the mechanics of the game as a clue, and it's also an equipment. It's also the murder weapon. It's like it's really, I love everything about this. All of these, murder weapon equipment clues are just awesome. Really, really impressive. I just want to showcase one of them. Truly interesting and cool. I couldn't find this card in better quality, but I really want to showcase this because it's really funny. Caught red-handed. I mean, it's a red spell. The artwork is really red. I just like I love everything about the design of this card. 5 mana, instant. Instant speed is really interesting. So I love that a lot of these are instant speed spells, and I find that it works really well with like the suspect mechanic and stuff like that. It's so cool, man. So this spell can't be countered because they're caught red-handed. You can't counter that. Like we see you committing the crime or whatever. And you gain control of that creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn, and it becomes a suspect. So you suspect it. I mean, obviously, we see we see the crime happening in front of us. You're a suspect. And the flavor text ties into that perfectly. Wait, stop, I've been framed extremely convincingly. So this is just incredible. I keep repeating the word incredible, but that's how I feel about the set as a whole. It's so exciting. It's so fun to talk about. All of these, like, I really want to play with these cards. Like, it's so like this doesn't happen to me at all when I when I look at Magic the Gathering sets. Like, this is a set that would love to play within itself, right? As a constructed format. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Most of these spells are probably not constructed viable. I will be drafting for sure, but you know, I do find that it's a bit of a shame that most of these cards will not see constructed play because I would love to see a lot of them in like different builds and stuff like that. But awesome card, really like 10 out of 10. Now we have a really funny card. This is incredible. I love when they like kind of go the meme like the more joke route for some cards. Red herring, a literal red herring. 2 mana, 2/2 artifact creature, clue fish. So, as we can see first with the actually, I'll describe the effects first. So, haste, red herring attacks each combat if able to, and 2 mana can sacrifice to draw a card because it's a clue, just like the other clues. And the description for the flavor text is Thopters are but one option in our suite of autonomous surveillance solution. So, this is a surveillance robot basically. And it's a red herring because why not? It's not just a Thopter. They wanted to make it more match the theme and have that little joke, literal red herring, incredible, like just so funny. Now, again, I don't know the exact lore for Magic the Gathering. I'm assuming Kylox is like an inventor, maybe or something. But if you are into MTG lore, I'm sure all of these cards are even more interesting to look at and even more exciting to potentially play with as well. So, just a quick one. I love this card. Now, a great example of the collect evidence mechanic is Analyze the Pollen, a green sorcery. And as an additional cost to cast a spell, you may collect evidence 8. Collecting evidence involves exiling cards with total mana value 8 or greater from your graveyard, and you search your library for a basic land card. If evidence was collected, instead search your library for a creature or land card, reveal that card, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Uh, Really interesting card if you think about it. So you're collecting evidence to kind of track a creature, right? And if you have enough evidence, well, you get to track that creature and you get to draw it. It's like it's so interesting. So you have the base effects of searching a library for basic land. With no evidence, you can easily do that, right? But with evidence, you get to target a creature and say, okay, that's the creature. Bam, draw it. It just So cool. Utilizing the collect evidence mechanic in a way that ties into the theme and the gameplay aspect of it is just really genius. I absolutely love the collect evidence mechanic and pretty much every mechanic in this set, honestly. So, really impressive. And absolutely another one of my favorite cards in the set. This one is so funny. So, Loxodon Eavesdropper is a 4 mana 3/3 Elephant Detective. When it enters the battlefield, it investigates. So very active detective already. Already investigating right away. And whenever you draw your second card each turn, Loxodon Eavesdropper gets +1/+1 and gains vigilance until end of turn. So first of all, look at the artwork and then the flavor text. He's all ears. Incredible. 10 out of 10. Genius. So that's already like a really solid flavor card. But then every aspect of the card ties together, right? From a gameplay perspective. So we have the comes out on the battlefield, immediately investigating, very active detective, and then the it's eavesdropping, right? So it listens, and when you draw your second card each turn, it becomes vigilant because it's hearing that information, right? So it's really, really cool way to tie that everything together with the vigilance, becoming more active, becoming bigger as it hears more information, gains more, evidence or whatever. Just very awesome card conceptually, like integrated into the game perfectly, flavor text on point, artwork on point, just 10 out of 10, really. 10 out of 10. I mean, a lot of these cards, in my opinion, are just straight bangers when it comes to design. It's really, really impressive. A Killer Among Us is an incredibly interesting card. Really big wall of text, though. So, Killer Among Us, 5 mana enchantment. And when it enters the battlefield, you make a human, you make a 1/1 human token, you make a 1/1 blue merfolk creature token, and you make a 1/1 goblin creature token. And then you secretly choose human, merfolk, or goblin. You can sacrifice this enchantment, you reveal the chosen creature type, and if target attacking creature token is the chosen type, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it, and it gains Death Touch until end of turn. Now this card, first of all, the art is really cool, and from a gameplay standpoint, this is like truly incredible, tying the flavor to the gameplay mechanics. So you choose a killer, right? Among those three tokens, and then your opponent doesn't know who it is, right? They're in the dark. You already know, right? And then when you're attacking, you get to reveal the killer, and the killer gets stronger because he was the killer all along, right? But we don't know who it is. They didn't know who it was. So suddenly it gets bigger and has Death Touch, obviously, because it's a killer, right? It should have Death Touch. So really awesome card flavor wise, and the way this card integrates, like the mystery aspect, like the surprise reveal of the killer. It screams murder mystery, and it's so amazing to have it in card form in the game. Really, really impressive. Buried in the Garden is a 4 mana enchantment aura. First of all, beautiful artwork, absolutely stunning. Enchant land. When Buried in the Garden enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent you don't control until Buried in the Garden leaves the battlefield. And whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of any color. Let's dig into it right here. So Buried in the Garden, you're burying something in the garden, right? That makes sense. The garden is your land. Very, very on point there. And until it leaves the battlefield, obviously, because when it's no longer buried in the garden, well, the creature comes back, right? It's so good already. Like, it's so genius. And then, obviously, since it's enchanted on one of your lands, and your land is gaining, like, nutrients or whatever, essentially it has extra stuff packed in that land. It's going to tap for an extra 1 mana. That's just absolutely on points when it comes to like representing what it does. Incredible naming. Like all these names are incredible. I keep pointing at the art, but the naming in this set is just picture perfect. Like truly, the fact that it's a enchantment aura, like everything is so on point in the set. It's really incredible to see. I'm very, very happy to finally see a set that like screams, passion. Like I think they put like so much effort into the set, and like designing it. They designed it so well, so smartly. Like they put a lot of effort, I think, into the set, and you can really feel that as a player and as a player of the game. And I think that's really important for the game when you could feel like what the people put into it, uh, it really shows, I think. Another like really genius integration into the game is commercial districts, and all the other dual lands in the set have surveil 1 when they enter the battlefield. And surveil is a mechanic, it was already a mechanic, right? But surveil just ties perfectly into like murder mystery detectives, like just surveilling. It's so good. Like it's not scry, it's not anything else. It's just surveil, which is the best possible mechanic you can put on the land to kind of go along with this theme. And I think that's really, really good. I think that's really, really smart, and I appreciate it a lot. Next up, we have They Went This Way, a 3-mana sorcery. You search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, and you get to investigate. So let's start off with the flavor text here. We have running doesn't prove guilt, but innocent people don't typically flee into the North Ridge Forest. We have essentially us tracking someone, right? Tracking a potential criminal, and we say they went that way. So you find a land, you're exploring the land, and you investigate that land. I find that to be like it's so perfect when it comes to like representing what this card is, right? Like from a gameplay standpoint, I feel like they just nail every time. They nail every time, like being able to represent the card through gameplay mechanics. It's absolutely perfect in this card. It's like a lot of them are pretty much perfect, honestly, but this one specifically, I just like it makes so much sense, right? This is what you would expect the card to do, and it does just that. Like, just so good, man. And lastly, I want to showcase a new subtype for enchantments, the cases. So this is another new thing here. We have Case of the Gateway Express. I'll break down how cases work in a second here. Actually, I'll break it down now. So cases have 3 states they can be in. One is when they enter the battlefield, you get your first block of text. Some people don't like the formatting on these cards. I mean, it's not the cleanest, but you get the top block of text here effect. So in this case, literally, we get when it enters the battlefield, choose target creature you don't control. Each creature you control deals 1 damage to that creature. And then the second block of text here is the to solve. So you have to solve the case, right? And to solve it, in this case, 3 or more creatures attack this turn if unsolved. So this checks at the beginning of your end step. So if it's unsolved, it will check this at the beginning of your end step to see if it's solved. So you have to do this during your turn, and at your end step, it checks for this. So if 3 or more creatures attack this turn, you get to solve the case. And then here, I'm gonna say in this case again, it's in this case, solved creatures you control get +1/+0. Really, so impressively integrated, I think, to have like the way you have to go through the case, you have to solve the case, and you get rewarded for it. So it's like it's really representative of the like solving a case. Literally, it's so interesting to have that in the game as well. And I really appreciate all of these cases. I think they're really well designed. And in this specific scenario, I can kind of describe what's going on. So you arrive, you have creatures potentially killing someone, a bunch of creatures ganging up together, killing someone. And to solve the case as a detective, well, you need to see 3 or more creatures attacking, right? To see, okay, that was those creatures attacked that person, right? And then when it's solved, you get the creatures you control get +1/+0, so they get invigorated by attacking together. Anyways, that's going to do it for my breakdown on individual cards to kind of illustrate my points from before. Basically, the set is perfect on theming. It's a general theme, so people can really map a lot of things onto it. They can get engaged in it. It's very endearing theme, I think, to a lot of people. It's a theme that a lot of people like. The way they integrated the gameplay mechanics into the actual cards themselves to kind of illustrate the way the theme for the card plays out in gameplay form in Magic the Gathering is absolutely on point, picture perfect in most cases, if not like a large portion of the cards are really, really, really well designed when it comes to that. And the overall naming sense and artwork for the cards are just incredible. So this set for me is absolutely my favorite set of all time. I've not seen a set that has, this much depth, I think, to it. And theme like really oozing out of every card than here. So really impressive. Props to the team over at Wizards for creating this set, and I really appreciate that. So anyways, I will be breaking down all of the cards that I haven't touched in this kind of mini breakdown, because I really want to talk about these. They're all really interesting, and I could not fit them all in this video. It would be way too long. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to, keep up with those videos I'm going to be putting out. Anyways, have a good one. See ya.